Rick Kamala.
All right, thanks. Thanks a lot, Sam. And I'm Rick Kamala, the host of the show. Welcome to Gopher Talk. The phone number that we're taking calls at is 626-WMMR. That's 626-9667. Get your calls in. Talk about anything you want, especially Gopher sports, because that's what we're here to talk about. On tap today, we've got Joe Pendle's weekly update on Gopher sports. A little later on, Patty Hagery will give us an update on women's Gopher volleyball. I know you guys have been waiting for that. Kevin Allensbach also had a talk with Sam Sigelman a little bit earlier today about the Pittsburgh game last weekend, Gopher football. And they're going to talk a little bit, I guess, about a preview of the Illini game coming up this weekend. First game since 1988 against the Illini for the Gophers. And later on in the show, we've got a little special surprise from Coach Gutekunst, who will we came in and we heard a teleconference from him, taped it, and we'll let you hear a little bit of that, get a little insight from Coach Gutekunst. Right off the bat, though, let's talk a little bit about the pennant races. They're getting in full swing, and I understand that Toronto has clinched the American League East. They beat Chicago. They didn't beat Chicago tonight, did they?
No, I believe Toronto defeated California.
Toronto beat
Rick.
California tonight 6-5. They won it on the field themselves, unlike the Twins. They needed just to win to clinch the division. They did that tonight. So it's going to be the Minnesota Twins against the Toronto Blue Jays. And if you can remember back in 1987, the Twins clinched, and then on the second to last game of the season, or maybe it was even the last game of the season, Detroit finished their comeback against Toronto. And Toronto lost the last 7 games of the year that year, lost the division. We ended up playing Detroit. It worked out well for the Twins. This time we're getting Toronto, and a little preview of that might be coming up a little later, but if you want a little preliminary, I think the Twins are going to beat them because they have great starting pitching, great hitting, but it's going to be a heck of a series, probably go to 6 or 7 games. The only reason I think the Twins are going to win it is because they have home field advantage. They host the first 2, the next 3 go to Toronto, and the next 2 end up here in Minnesota. We have a call right now. Speak your piece. You're on the air.
I just remembered I have to work.
Well, we're having some technical difficulties in the studio here. I can't hear the. You're on the air. Well, once again, we're having problems. We had the same deal last week. Don't know what's going on, but keep those calls coming, 626-WMMR. It's a radio call-in show, folks. Hang with us. Elsewhere in baseball scores, we'll update the National League West. Atlanta beat Cincinnati tonight 6-3. They're now a half game back of L.A., who's playing tonight against San Diego. The last we heard in the third inning, L.A. and the Padres were tied at 1 apiece. Tom Glavine for the Braves won his 20th tonight, first 21-game winner in the majors. Tom Glavine has a shoe up now over John Smiley for the Cy Young Award in the National League. That updates you on the pennant races. As I said, Atlanta, half game behind L.A. Pittsburgh's already in, as you know. If you want my word, I think it's going to be L.A. and Pittsburgh. I think L.A. is going to beat Pitt, defeating them again. Pittsburgh, another disappointment in the playoffs. They don't have the fan support, and that's big in the playoffs. L.A. sells out every game. They've also got great pitching, and Darryl Strawberry is a primetime player, especially in the fall time, and I think he'll come around, win it for the Dodgers. I also think that the Twins are going to beat Toronto, and the Dodgers are going to beat the Twins in the World Series just like 1965. That's my call, and if you disagree with me, then, hey, give us a call and let us know. The number is 626-WMMR. That's 626-9667. I'm going to say this number so many times, you guys are going to be hearing it in your sleep. And now we're going to go to Joe Pendle's update on Gopher Sports.
Hi, Rick. This is Joe Pendle again. This week, the Golden Gopher football team travels to Champaign-Urbana to take on the Fighting Illini of Illinois. They seem to be going from the pot to the frying pan after last weekend's game against Alex Van Pelt, considered one of the nation's best passers. This week, they go up against Jason Verdursko, Illinois' quarterback, who seems to have surprised everybody. Right now, he's leading the nation in total offense with 373 yards a game. Incredible. Against Houston, he threw for 341 yards, including 3 touchdowns. But don't think the Illini are just a passing team. They're backed up by running back Clinton Lynch. He's a junior running back who's just starting to see some time as a starter. He rushed for 107 yards on 14 carries in the game against Houston. So the Golden Gophers are in for it, and there's a couple players who are dinged up, but mostly on the offensive line. Prince Pearson, for one, they're not quite sure yet if it's ligament damage or what, but he's had some problem to his knee. And, of course, Chip Brixius, who was injured in the Colorado game, may not see any action against the Illini. That decision won't be made until later in the week. Leaving the gridiron to the hockey arena, the Golden Gopher hockey team begins its first practice of the season on Monday, October 7th. That's in preparation for their first game, which will be against defending national champion and WCHA champion Northern Michigan. That game will be played on October 12th up in Eveleth as part of the Hall of Fame game. Speaking of hockey, people who have season tickets for hockey, I understand there have been some questions about this. The Gophers will be playing the University of Wisconsin on November 16th. That game has been moved from Mariucci Arena out to the Met Center in Bloomington. It's being part of a Border Wars Day. That's the same day that the Gopher football team plays against the Wisconsin Badgers at the Metrodome. The football game's at 1:30. The hockey game's at 7:30 back over at the Met Center. Folks who have season tickets, when they go and pick up their tickets this year, they'll find a comparable ticket in their packet for the seat in Met Center, so there won't be any sort of general admission fighting or whatnot.
Excuse me, Joe?
Yes.
Sam Sigelman here. How does that affect the hockey plan in the future? Is this going to be an ongoing thing, or is this just a one-time deal for the border war?
Well, it's a one-time deal this season for the border war. There's, as you know, a strong effort to build a new hockey arena right here on campus, just across the street from the Mariucci Williams complex. And to the best of my knowledge and the people I've talked to, those plans are going ahead. If for some reason the financing doesn't work out, which is possible in these times of fiscal austerity, they may look into doing something to beef up Mariucci Arena itself. This is not an indication that the university wants to move hockey off campus. It's a vibrant part of the campus, and I think most people would be pretty disappointed to see it leave. So at this point, we don't see it that way. It's just an effort to try and bring more people into the Gopher hockey family, and particularly with this game, the Wisconsin and Gopher game. I mean, they draw such an incredible crowd most years. This is a way to get more people there. Let's take a look at the Gopher golf team. The University of Minnesota golf team finished third at the Northern Intercollegiate Tourney last weekend, which was held at the University of Iowa's golf course. Junior Joe Goulian finished in second place among the individuals. He was just one stroke behind the leader, and get this, Rick, he carded scores of 72, 69, and 73. Shooting scratch is something I've always wanted to, but never been able to. Looks like Joe Goulian's the guy to look for at the Gopher Links. Now, the men's cross-country team will be hosting the Minnesota Invitational this weekend at the Les Bolstad Golf Course. The men's race will be run at 11 o'clock, and the women's cross-country team will also be having races, one at 10:30, and then they'll be following the men's race later. Some of the schools attending this incredible event are Adams State, Auburn University, Augustana, Hastings, Iowa State, Marquette, University of North Dakota, Penn State, Portland, University of Wisconsin, Madison, La Crosse, Eau Claire, River Falls, St. Cloud, St. Thomas. You get the picture. It's a pretty crowded field, and among those teams, some of the best long-distance teams in the country. You might want to look for Iowa State in particular. They're always pretty tough. As far as the Gophers go, Coach Roy Griak, as we said last week, feels his young team has made a lot of strides in their early training and can make some noise this year in the Big Ten. Look for Kurt Katsonis in that spot. Basically, that's about all we have for you this week, Rick. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, Joe, thanks a lot for that great report. Always doing a great job. We're going to take a break in just a couple of minutes. But first of all, we need to tell you the number again, 626-WMMR. Don't be shy. Don't call us and hang up like that other person just did. Don't be afraid to get your voice on the air and voice that opinion. We want to hear about it. Coming up after the break, Patty Hagery, Minnesota Daily beat writer for the Gopher women's volleyball team, will give us an update on how they are doing. Also, Sam Sigelman sat down with Kevin Allensbach today. They talked a little Gopher football. Kevin Allensbach is the football beat writer for the Daily, and they're talking a little bit about the Illinois game and last week's loss to Pittsburgh. And also, we have a surprise from Coach Gutekunst later on in the show. You'll want to stick around and find out what's all about that. But before we go to this break, Sam, I want to find out what you think about how the playoffs are going to go. I told you how I feel. I want to find out what's up in that cranium of yours.
Well, let's see here. We got the Penguins in May, took the North Stars to the hilt, basically 11-0 in the sixth game. And then the Panthers this past weekend defeated the Gophers 14-13, so it's 2-0 Pittsburgh. So I think they're going to make it a clean sweep. Pirates, they're going to clinch it here in the sixth game over the Twins. You know, this is something to talk about because The Twins are in the World Series almost again. This only happens every so often, so it's kind of exciting stuff.
Every so often, it's only happened 3 times in the club's history, 65-87, and we shouldn't say 3 times. It's happened twice. Who knows? Toronto might beat them. Toronto's a great ball club. Joe Carter, Roberto Alomar, even Candy Maldonado. He's been playing well since he came to the club, and their pitching is incredible. Starting 3 of Stottlemyre, Key, Candiotti, and then they've got Guzman, and we're forgetting one of the best pitchers of the 1980s, Dave Stieb, who had surgery, and he's gone for the season. They also are without Tom Henke, who I believe had arthroscopic surgery, or he had a rotator cuff problem, and he's not recovering. He's not responding to treatment, so they're going to be without him. And he was the best, at least percentage reliever in baseball for about the first 2/3 of the season. But they do have Warden Wells coming out of the pen. Toronto's a tough club. It's going to be a great ALCS. We're going to take a break right now from Gopher Talk, but keep your calls coming, 626 WMMR. We'll be right back.
(1991) Minnesota Gopher football is in full force.
11-yard line. Here's a handoff to Rios. Pulls his way. Touchdown, Minnesota! Chuck Rios. An 11-yard run. It's Pater. Minnesota.
Listen to all the Gopher excitement on your source for Gopher sports, WMMR Radio.
Pass. Looks left. And it's intercepted. Picked off by Sean Lumpkin, the leader of the defense, the senior.
So please join me, Sam Sigelman, on October 12th at 1 o'clock as the Gophers take on Big Ten foe, the Purdue Boilermakers, on WMMR. No one is closer to the game.
Thursday night at 11, tune in to Murmur for a talk with Minnesota Daily editor Blake Morrison. Morrison will be discussing the Daily's decision to print 2 controversial editorials in last Wednesday's paper. The opinion pieces from Tom, David, and Nancy Lunn have angered many at the U, and the Daily has come under fire for publishing them. The phone lines will be open for your comments, so be sure to tune in to Murmur this Thursday night at 11, only on Student Radio WMMR.
Welcome back as we take Gopher Talk to the higher ground, talking a little bit about Gopher football. They play Illinois this weekend. The 22nd ranked Illini will host the Gophers, and this is the first time these two teams have hooked up since 1988 when the Gophers and Illinois tied at the Dome. And the last time the Gophers beat the Illini was back in 1980 down at Illinois. They won it 21-18. Illinois won the previous 5 before that tie in 1988. And Illinois is a 15-point favorite to beat the Gophers this weekend. The Gophers come in 1-2, Illinois 2-1. Illinois in the first week of the season beat East Carolina, and that was a big win for that program. And in the second week, they lost at Missouri. That was kind of a tough setback. But then Illinois showed that they are a tough ball club. They beat Houston 51-10 at Illinois. Houston was ranked in the top 10 at the start of the season, but we've obviously seen how much how overrated that club was. 51-10 over Houston. The Illini now 2-1. And we'll take a look at some other games in the Big Ten this week in Week 1. Minnesota, as I said, at Illinois. Illinois, the 15-point favorites. Purdue is at Northwestern, and Purdue is a 2.5-point favorite there. Wisconsin visits Ohio State. Ohio State 23-point favorites over Barry Alvarez's 3-0 Wisconsin team. Michigan is at Iowa. This is probably the game of the week as far as even the country's concerned. There's not even a line on this game. It's just a pick. It's at Iowa. Michigan at Iowa. Great game. Couple of top 10 teams right there. Michigan State at Indiana. Indiana 7.5-point favorites because Michigan State, as you've known, they've struggled. They lost to, I believe, Central Michigan, and last week they were beaten badly as well. And also we'll throw this one in, Penn State at Temple. Penn State 23-point favorites to beat the Owls. I believe we have a call right now. and you're on the air.
How you doing?
All right, how you doing out there?
Yeah, I'm doing just fine. What do you think the Gophers' chances are this weekend against Illinois? I'm just kind of curious because I'm a big Gopher fan and kind of worried about the season.
Well, I tell you what, I really think that last week against Pittsburgh, the Gophers were lucky to get out of there with a 1-point loss. Pittsburgh shot themselves in the foot the entire game. The Gophers played well. Don't get me wrong; they played a good game, but Pittsburgh's a much better club, and Pittsburgh played flat out ugly. If they would have played,
Yeah, but the Gophers also killed themselves with penalties, you know.
yeah, but how many times did Pittsburgh get within the 20-yard line and not even come out of it with a field goal? I mean, they were just flat out ugly in the red zone, and the Gophers were lucky to get out of there with a 1-point loss, which brings me to this deal with Illinois. Jason Ferdusco is turning himself into one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten.
Yeah, he is. He's really good.
Yeah, he is. I think he's gonna go nuts against the Gophers because you saw what Darian Hagan did against Colorado, shredding Lumpkin and Thaddeus and all these other guys. I think Verduzco is going to go nuts. If Illinois can establish a running game, see you later, because the Gophers, their heads are going to be turning, their heads are going to be spinning at this offense. I think it's going to be, I don't know, I think that Illinois will cover the spread at home.
Okay, thanks a lot, Rick.
You betcha. Bye-bye. So there you have it. I think Illinois is going to cover the spread. Sam, what's your scoop on this game? How do you think the Gophers are going to fare against the Illini?
You know, that's an interesting question, and it's one I've been pondering a lot lately, Rick. The Illinois game, I think it hurts the Gophers because they're not, like I guess all Minnesota teams, they're not a threat to be on the road, and they play very different. They played a different game when they played a top 20 team as Pittsburgh, as they did in the Dome last weekend, to when they played Colorado, as you alluded to earlier, 58-0 on the road. Illinois is a top 25 team, ranked 22nd in the nation. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be a good test for the Gophers. I would just say, if I was Gutekunst, I would not want to play my first Big Ten game against a team like as potent as Illinois.
I'm very much in agreement with you. The Gophers dropped Northwestern off their schedule this year so that they could take on Illinois again. And right now, I'm sure Goody'd rather play Northwestern than Illinois because he's looking at 1-3 as opposed to probably 2-2 if he was playing Northwestern. The last time these two teams met, as I said, they tied. The series between these two teams, the Gophers lead at 24-21. They've tied 3 times. At Champaign, Illinois leads the series 12-10-1. And there's a great player on defense for Illinois that the Gophers are also going to have to look out for on offense. His name's Mike Pulaski. And he's a big-time, big-play defender. And Fleetwood and Rios and all the rest of them are going to have to keep their eyes on him. And especially the offensive line and the blocking back on passing situations, they're going to have to know exactly where he is because he can really hurt you. And Gutekunst, as we'll hear from him later, expresses a lot of fear about this guy. And he's really been tearing up the league. He had a great game against Houston last week, rushing Klingler, forcing him to make bad passes. And Klingler coming in was the best QB in the nation, and he's proving that the Heisman talk was, it was Cupcake City because as far as I'm concerned, Desmond Howard will win the Heisman Trophy. You heard it here. I said this when he played Notre Dame. He's just incredible. Every time the guy touches the ball, he gets a touchdown. Unbelievable player. I think he's going to win the Heisman. Also, nowadays, you make it on TV, you win the Heisman. Michigan's on TV a whole heck of a lot. Desmond Howard, you heard it here. So, Patty Hegre, she is the Minnesota Daily beat writer for Gopher Women's Volleyball, and she's up next with her update.
This is Patty Hegre with the Minnesota Volleyball Update. Good things seem to happen in threes for the Minnesota volleyball team, who swept Michigan and Michigan State in the Big Ten home opener last weekend. The Gophers defeated both the Wolverines and the Spartans in 3 games to continue a 3-match winning streak. The streak is the longest since the end of the 1989 season for the Gophers. The 2-0 conference record leaves Minnesota in a 3-way tie for first place with Ohio State and Illinois. Illinois, however, hosted Purdue tonight, and pending the outcome of the match, the Gophers could drop to second or move up to first place with Ohio State. In Friday's match against Michigan State, Minnesota junior Kristen Novell had a career high of 13 kills in the victory. Novell redshirted the 1990 season, but has established herself in the starting rotation this season as a tough player at the net and in the back row. Sunday, Novell capped off the victory over Michigan with 2 service aces to end the match. Novell's play earned her Big Ten Player of the Week. Karen Lusheen continues to be the Gophers' most consistent hitter. Lusheen sent 25 kills past defenders over the weekend. And setter Sue Jackson remains the cornerstone of the Minnesota offense and has been successful calling plays on the floor. Freshman Jean Shintz from White Bear Lake is the only freshman to see consistent playing time and is averaging 1 kill per game in her collegiate debut. The Gophers will travel to Wisconsin this Friday, October 4th, to battle the Badgers in the Wisconsin Fieldhouse. The Badgers won their first Big Ten title last season and are expected to be in contention again this year. Minnesota will round out its first weekend on the road at Northwestern on Saturday night with the Wildcats. The Wildcats finished in 6th place last season but managed to beat the Gophers in both games. And this has been Patty Haggerty with the Women's Volleyball Update.
All right, Patty, thanks a lot. I know we're all enlightened and we can sleep tonight knowing what's going on with the Gopher women's volleyball team. Call us, 626-WMMR. Let's talk about Gopher sports. Talk about anything you want to hear, even sports in general, pro, college, high school. It doesn't matter. This is a sports talk show. Let's talk about anything that you want to talk about. Right now, we've talked about the Gophs. Call us up. We want to hear your questions and comments on them. Let's talk about the Vikes for a little bit right now. Last weekend, Sunday Night National TV, and the Vikes flat out blew it. 13-6, they lost to the Denver Broncos. Denver is now, I believe, 4-1. And last year they had a very dismal year. 4-1 this year. Denver is an improved team, and but still, the Vikes should beat Denver at home. And they couldn't do it. Fuad Reveiz was the only Viking that looked halfway decent in that win, or in that loss, I should say. He had a 49-yarder, and as we all know, Igwebuike couldn't even have attempted that one. But Fuad looked good. And this week the Vikes play Detroit. This is a huge game for the Vikings because if the Vikes can beat Detroit, they would be 3-3. Detroit would drop to 4-2. And it's also a big week because Chicago hosts Washington. The 5-0 Redskins go to Soldier Field. And if the Skins can topple the Bears would fall to 4-2. The Vikes would then be one game out of first place. And looking at how the Vikes are playing right now, that would be a very good place for them to be, one game out 5 weeks into the season. We've got a call right now. You're on the air. Tell us who you are and where you're calling from.
Hi, Rick. I was just wondering if I could get your opinion on the girls' tennis team this year.
Yep.
What do you think they're doing? How do you think they're doing?
Well, they're doing all right. They are you still there? What's your name out there?
Kathy.
Kathy, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
The women's tennis team. Well, I haven't talked to Joe Pendle, and I haven't exactly.
Jenny Moe.
Jenny Moe. All right. Well.
I'm just a big tennis player. So
what's that?
I'm a big tennis player, and I was just wondering what your opinion was on the way they're doing this year for their season.
Well, they're doing just fine.
Kathy, how's your backhand?
It's wonderful. I just wanted your opinion on it.
Well, I think it's great. Women's tennis is great. It's getting a lot of national exposure around the country, and the Gopher team, I understand, is doing quite well in the Big Ten.
Okay, thanks.
You betcha. Thanks for your call. All right, that was kind of a little curveball right there for me, talking about the Vikes and throwing me a women's tennis question, but I think we fielded it nicely. Anyways, talking more about the Vikes. The Vikes defense, at least point-wise, is pretty good in the NFC. They're first in the Central. They've allowed less points than even the Chicago Bears. The Vikes have given up 82. The Bears have given up 91. And they're fifth in the NFC in points allowed behind New Orleans, who's allowed 47. That's incredible in 5 games. Washington, Philadelphia, and San Fran. So the Vikes and San Fran, a couple of 2 and 3 teams up among the league leaders in points allowed. The Vikes offense, however, not quite so good. They're second to last in the NFL in points scored. They have 49 points in 5 games. That's less than 10 points a game, and you're not going to win football games scoring less than 10 points a game. New England is third to last. They have 56 points. New England was 1 in 15 last year. They're 2 and 3 this year. This shows you the company the Vikings are keeping right now. Last in the NFL is Indianapolis with 40 points in 5 games. That's 8 points a game. It's no wonder these guys are 0-5. But Indianapolis has 3 of their starting offensive linemen hurt. Dickerson, I don't know what his deal is. He's here today, gone tomorrow. I think the deal with Dickerson, if he doesn't have a good offensive line, a great offensive line, he's just not a good back because he needs daylight, and Indianapolis isn't giving him daylight, and that's why you see the totals 25 yards rushing, 17 yards rushing as opposed to 150 with that great Rams offensive line in the mid-80s. And they also fired Ron Meyer this week, and Venturi is taking over. They also fired their offensive coordinator. That shows you how bad everything's going in Indianapolis. This was a team that was close to making the playoffs last year. So this shows you the company the Vikings are keeping right now. But as I said, if they win this week against Detroit and the Bears lose, they're just 1 game out of first place in the NFC Central. Keep those calls coming, 626-WMMR, 626-9667. And keep those calls coming. When we return, Kevin Allensbach talking with Sam earlier about Gopher football. And a surprise from Coach Gutekunst. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back on Gopher Talk.
Listed on the enclosed sheet the questions that we would like answered. There is space after the question for you to give us a free-buck answer.
Weeknights at 11, tune in to Student Radio WMMR for Talk Radio, an hour of talk with university students. Talk Radio gives you the opportunity to express yourself over the airwaves on issues that concern you. Whether it's the latest Gopher blowout or the headline in the Daily, Talk Radio is an open forum for university students. That's Talk Radio every weeknight at 11, only on Student Radio WMMR.
Listen in every Monday through Friday for the Pacifica Report, a daily live half-hour news program out of Washington, D.C. Pacifica Radio News is a provocative, detailed, and alternative news program featuring stories and perspectives from around the world. Pacifica brings you national and international stories and contemporary issues before a crisis brings them into the commercial media. So tune in every weekday at 3:30 p.m. for the Pacifica Report, right here on WMMR, keeping you in touch with the world.
Welcome back to Gopher Talk. I'm Rick Campbell. We're taking your calls at 626-WMMR. We're not through talking about the Vikes. They play Detroit this weekend. Detroit is 4-1. This is a juggernaut team. They've got Barry Sanders, who's playing incredible, and this isn't exactly an aberration for him, the best back in football as far as just running the ball ever since he's been in the league. Last weekend versus Tampa Bay, who has a good defense, he shredded them. 3 TDs and 160 yards. Floyd Peters is the defensive coordinator for Tampa Bay. They have a good D. Barry Sanders made them all look like high school kids. We have a call right now. You're on the air. Who are you? Where are you from?
Hi, guys. How you doing?
I'm all right. What's your name?
My name is Matt. I'm calling from Roseville.
How you doing, Matt?
Not bad. Hey, I want to ask you guys, how are the Gophers going to be in hoops this year?
How are the Gophers going to be in hoops? That's a good question because there are a lot of questions about the Gopher Hoops team. They lost Lynch, Bond, Metcalf, Mario Green, and they return. Bob Martin is the only senior on the team. Dana Jackson, a junior captain. They had a good recruiting class with Jason Walton and the player Wolf and a couple other high recruits. So I think they're going to need one more year of kind of struggling, finding themselves. Give Randy Carter another year to hang and bang in the Big Ten. As a junior, he's going to be a force. And as a sophomore, he's still going to be a good player. I think they're still going to be kind of like they were last year. They have the potential for a big upset, and then they have they could get beat by Northwestern at home. I mean, they're that type of team. How do you see this team?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I went to a few games last year, watched a couple on the tube, and it was kind of disappointing. I'm just I just want to see them get back in the tournament, see if they can pull off some magic again.
Mm-hmm. Well, if anybody can pull off the magic, it's definitely Clem. And I don't think an NIT bid is out of the question for the Gophers, but an NCAA bid I think is
I think it's a no-go all the way.
I think it's a dream, if you ask me. Clem needs to pinch himself if he thinks they're going to make the tournament. But I think the year after this, they're definitely going to be in contention once again for the Big Ten title.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask, how about the freshmen coming in? Do we have any Minnesota boys coming in?
I don't have the stuff in front of me, but I do know one thing. Chad Colander, who was redshirted last year, is a high recruit out of Minnesota, and he will be playing, and he will be getting some playing time, and he will be contributing to this team, and he is from Minnesota. Sam, help me out. Owatonna?
Owatonna.
He helped them win the state championships, I believe, in his last year, didn't he?
He sure did, yes. Great Kevin Lynch-type frame, Kevin Lynch-type player, so they say.
Great, smooth, sweet jump shot. And if they can get him open and he can pop those open J's, he could contribute as a freshman. But I know for a fact that they got 2 high recruits out of the state of Michigan, getting them past Steve Fisher. So
Vashawn Leonard.
Yep, Vashawn Leonard, and
they got David Grimm. I don't believe he's from Michigan though.
I know for a fact they got 2 recruits out of Michigan though. They got him away from Steve Fisher. So Clem indeed can go to other states and get him away from the coaches there. Thanks for your call, Matt.
You bet.
Take it easy, all right? All right, keep those calls coming. 626 WMMR. Let's talk about the Vikes. Go for hockey, go for hoops, go for football. Heck, even go for tennis if you want to call up and talk about that. Neil Broughton's been in the news lately for the North Stars. He, as you know, went to Germany to play a little hockey. He, when he first went there, he wasn't thinking he was going to come back and play for the Stars this year. But as it turns out, he returned to Minnesota on Monday, and he's planning on playing with the team except for this one little minor detail. He and his agent, Ron Simon, they're willing to play with the 4-year contract that the North Stars have offered them and with the money that the Stars have offered them. But Ron Simon and Neil Broughton want a no-trade clause in the contract because Broughton wants to end his career here in Minnesota, and he also wants to be with his family, and frankly, who can blame him? He's a Minnesota boy, played with Roseau, the Gophers, now with the Stars. He wants to stay in Minnesota. I respect that. I respect the fact that he's not bickering anymore about the money. He is an older player, and as far as I'm concerned, he's making a lot of money. He's an older player, and there's no guarantees on a player in his early 30s. So I respect the fact that he's not whining about more money. But I hear Neil saying that he doesn't want to be traded. And frankly, I think the Stars are idiots if they don't sign him and put the no-trade clause in his contract, because this would be trading Neil Broughton or losing Neil Broughton is kind of like trading or losing Ken Herbick or Kirby Puckett. It's that type of deal. Neil Broughton is Minnesota hockey, period. If they lose Neil Broughton, the Stars will be a hurting hockey team. Right now, we're going to take a little listen to a conversation Sam had with Kevin Allenspach, who's the football writer for the Minnesota Daily. They talked about the last week's loss to Pittsburgh and this week's upcoming game against Illinois. Sam and Kevin, take it away.
Thank you, Rick. Well, we're talking football. This is Sam Sigelman with Minnesota Daily sports writer Kevin Allenspach, and we're talking football.
Good to be with you, Sam.
Thanks for joining us, Kevin. Hey, Gophers last Saturday against Pittsburgh. Didn't look that bad, but didn't look that great either.
Well, like I told you, before the show, I think the Gophers played pretty well last week. They came actually within one defensive lapse of pretty much winning that game. If you take away the long touchdown run that Pitt tailback Curtis Martin had for about 36 yards there, the Gophers wind up winning that game. You can let the missed field goals by the Pitt kicker kind of fall where they may, but except for that one play, the Gophers played really well on defense, and I think that's what they got to do pretty much to have a good season.
And defense is kind of the name of the game of the Big Ten, and this weekend the Big Ten season kicks off with games all across the Big Ten country. Who do you like to win the Big Ten, go to the Rose Bowl, or if it's Minnesota, not go to the Rose Bowl? And who do you think is Player of the Year?
Well, I tell you what, I've given it some careful consideration, and I'm sure that my picks are probably going to be disagreed with by just about anybody out there who wants to pick up the Daily. But a lot of people are favoring Michigan right now, and they're a good football team. I don't want to take anything away from them, but Iowa is looking really tough. They're 3-0, and I really like Matt Rogers, the quarterback. And they've just got a really good offense. Their defense has only given up 3 touchdowns all season so far, and they were all on the run. So that's going to look pretty tough going into the conference schedule. And I kind of like Iowa towards the end of the season. I think that they're the ones that are going to hang in there. I think that they're the ones that have a shot to really, do some good things this year. They're undefeated right now. That's something that Michigan can't say, even though they did play Florida State. And I think Iowa's the team that if anybody's going to do anything, I think they have a shot at it. And as far as an individual standout, there's going to be quite a few of those in the conference this year. Team-wise, the level of talent may be down a little bit. There's definitely some good quarterbacks and really a lot of decent players at many of the other positions that people can take a look at. I think that the first player that's going to stand out, though, is going to be Desmond Howard, the receiver up at Michigan. Irregardless of how the Wolverines do, whether they make it to the Rose Bowl or not, I think that they'll probably wind up in a pretty prominent bowl game, and he's going to be able to put up some numbers this year that are going to make a lot of people blink, so I would say he's going to be the player to watch.
You talk about Michigan, Iowa. Where do the Gophers fit into all this?
Well, I'd like to be optimistic about the Gophers.
Don't we all?
They're in a situation where there are quite a few teams that could be near the bottom of the Big Ten, and I don't want to make it sound like the Gophers are going to be at the bottom, but there's a lot of teams that could go well and could go bad, and I've kind of placed the Gophers right in there somewhere. I have them finishing right around the number 8 slot, and if they put a few wins together or put a couple of good games together, there's no reason why they couldn't finish higher than that. But then conversely, too, if they play poorly against some of the teams that they should beat, Purdue, for instance, homecoming here with 2 weeks from now, if they play poorly in a game like that, they could finish at the bottom, too. So I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Who are the top teams besides Michigan, Iowa? There's always Ohio State's always competitive. Are they up there?
Well, right. You can't overlook Ohio State. They're 3-0 right now as well, and they're going to be breathing down the necks of both Iowa and Michigan. I believe they've got a great running game. I don't think they throw the ball anywhere in Ohio, though. Their running game is pretty much all they have for an offensive attack, but a couple of running backs, Carlos Snow and Butler Benote, they're going to be able to do pretty much what it takes to give Ohio State a lot of wins this year. And I picked them third, but there's always the possibility they could finish higher. I guess I just didn't think that they would do so because Michigan is such a much more balanced attack, and I think Iowa is just a little bit better team. So, whether or not Ohio State can overcome that, we'll have to wait and see. And then fourth, I have ranked Illinois, who is coming into this weekend against the Gophers 2-1.
Yeah, Illinois. What do we look for Illinois? How strong are they? What's some of their strengths, some of their weaknesses, and what would the Gophers do to take advantage or stay away from those weaknesses and strengths?
Well, I think the thing that you have to watch with Illinois is going to be their defense. A couple of games earlier this year, their defense didn't really show up to the point that they wanted it to. Their last game against Houston, they took care of a pretty good passing attack, the run and shoot that Houston has, and David Klinger, they beat them 51-10, I believe was the score. And, depending on which Houston defense is going to show up, it could give the Gophers a lot of problems, or it could provide them a chance to win the game. Offensively, of course, you got Jason Verduzco, the quarterback there, and he's pretty short. He's only about 5'9", but he's probably one of the best passers in the conference, if not the northern part of the country. So he's going to give the Gopher defense a lot of headaches that day, I'm sure.
Yeah, Verduzco has been compared to Flutie, no doubt about that comparison after the Houston game. So the Gophers that go in this game, are they hurting anywhere? Are they looking pretty strong coming out after the Pittsburgh game?
Well, nobody's really injured except a couple of the players on the offensive line. Chip Brixius is back in practice right now. How much he'll play this weekend, we really don't know. He's of course a Gopher center. Those duties have been handled pretty much by Pooch Hendrickson, who's been moved from guard to center. He's been taking over that chore a little bit, but they'll probably move him back if Brixius can play. One of the other guards, Prince Pearson, started against Pitt, and he dislocated his right knee, and I fear that he would be out for most, if not all, of the rest of the season. So, that leaves them really short at guard. They've got one guy, Chris Stodgel, is backing up both guard spots, so if if they would happen to lose one other guard some way, then they're starting to get into that panic zone because they really don't have anybody behind them, with the exception of maybe a freshman or something like that they could pull in.
Talking football with Kevin Allensbach. I appreciate your time, Kevin.
You betcha. We'll see if we can bring something back from Champaign.
Yeah, hopefully a victory and some champagne.
Okay.
We'll talk to you next week, Kevin. That's Talking Football with sports writer Kevin Allensbach. This is Sam Sigelman. Back to you, Rick.
Thanks a lot, Kevin and Sam. There must be something about talking about the offensive line that brings out the chipmunk in Kevin Allensbach's voice. I don't know. We'll have to work on that. And he said that he thought Iowa was going to win the Big Ten. I firmly disagree with this. I think Michigan is far and away the class of the Big Ten. They got throttled against Florida State last week at Michigan, but FSU they're a pro football team as far as I'm concerned. Michigan will beat Iowa at Iowa, undefeated in a Big Ten Rose Bowl. They're going to play Washington. It might even be a national championship game depending on how the rest of the season goes with Miami and Florida State.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, that's the beauty of Rick Hamla. You could just hear a guy who writes for the Daily give his opinion, and boom, Rick Hamla comes out of the sky with a different opinion. This guy is Mr. Opinion. I would give him a call right now. He'll give you opinion about anything. You know, his mother, his past family history, the past presidents. He's just Mr. Opinion. So just call him up, 626 WMMR, and he'll give you his opinion.
Paul Schaefer, ladies and gentlemen. USA Today earlier this week listed their 7 greatest moments in baseball history, and I thought this was very interesting because they left off a couple of moments that came right to my mind when I didn't see them on there. I'll list the 7 real quickly. Bill Mazeroski's home run in the 9th inning of the 1960 World Series to beat the Yanks. As far as I'm concerned, that's the greatest moment in baseball history, period. Bottom of the 9th, 7th game against the Yanks. You don't get any bigger than that. Bobby Thompson's home run in the playoffs against the Dodgers back in 1951 off of Ralph Branca, that was another one. Reggie Jackson's 3 dingers in succession versus L.A. in 1977 was one of them listed. Don Larson's 1956 perfect game in the World Series was one of them. Willie Mays' catch in the 1954 World Series off of Vic Wirtz was the 5th one. Carlton Fisk's home run in Game 6 of the 1975 World Series, winning the game in the 12th inning, was one of them. And the final one they listed was Hank Aaron's 715th dinger in 1973 off of Al Downing. And a couple of them that I noticed that were left off that I thought should have been on were Kirk Gibson's home run in the 1988 World Series in Game 1 versus Dennis Eckersley, who had probably the best year a reliever's ever had. And the game was pretty much locked, sealed, and delivered for the Oakland A's. Gibby hit the home run. He was in his wheelchair rounding the bases after he hit the home run. And also, if you're a Twins fan, you've got to think that Ken Herbeck's grand slam in Game 6 off Ken Daly, it's far and away the biggest moment in Twins baseball history. And you can maybe carry that even over to baseball history as well. Give us a call. We want to know what you think about this. What are your favorite moments in baseball history? You got Bucky Dent's home run in 78, Maris's 61st dinger. There's a lot of them out there. Call us up. Let us know what you think. The number, once again, in case you didn't know, 626 WMMR. That's 626-9667. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we've still got the surprise we've been keeping from you. John Gutekunst coming up. We've got a special surprise from him, so don't go away. Keep it here right on Gopher Talk.
Listed on the enclosed sheet the questions that we would like answered. There is space after the question for you to give us a three-part answer.
Weeknights at 11, tune in to Student Radio WMMR for Talk Radio, an hour of talk with university students. Talk Radio gives you the opportunity to express yourself over the airwaves on issues that concern you. Whether it's the latest Gopher blowout or the headline in the Daily, Talk Radio is an open forum for university students. That's Talk Radio every weeknight at 11, only on Student Radio WMMR. Thursday night at 11, tune in to Murmur for a talk with Minnesota Daily editor Blake Morrison. Morrison will be discussing the Daily's decision to print 2 controversial editorials in last Wednesday's paper. The opinion pieces from Tom, David, and Nancy Lunn have angered many at the U, and the Daily has come under fire for publishing them. The phone lines will be open for your comments, so be sure to tune in to Murmur this Thursday night at 11, only on Student Radio WMMR.
626 WMMR. I'm not going to say the second part again because, I don't know, you can figure it out. Call us and let us know what you think are the greatest moments in baseball history. That's one of the things we want to talk about. As a matter of fact, we can talk about just about anything. The Timberwolves, they start practice this Friday. Luke Longley, the number 1 pick. I'm still scratching my head over this one. They picked Felton Spencer a couple years ago, and he was a good player, great rebounder. They always talked about his work ethic. He came to Louisville. He was a scrawny 7-footer, not a lot of talent. He worked hard under Denny Crum, turned himself into a great player, one of the best centers in the nation. Comes to the T-Wolves, not expected to be an impact player, and he wasn't, but he did all the yeoman's work underneath the glass, got some big rebounds, and, scored 20 points a couple times. And Luke Longley, this guy is, long on potential, and I don't want to say short on talent, but I'm not real impressed with this guy. I've watched him play a lot on those late night games on ESPN when New Mexico plays, UTEP in the pit and that. And I've seen this guy play. He's a great free throw shooter. He's got good touch around the hoop, but he resembles Manute Bol when it comes to rebounding. He just doesn't like to mix it up, and he's not a real intense player. He's not a player that gets real fired up, not a lot of emotion, and he lacks motivation. He's kind of the opposite of Felton Spencer. He's got a big name. He's got, big talent that seems to come naturally for him. He doesn't like to work a lot. He lacks concentration, and sometimes he lacks motivation. And he and the Timberwolves are way far apart on their contract negotiations. Longley wants a lot more than what the Wolves are willing to give him. And as far as I'm concerned, Luke needs to get his butt in camp, or he's going to be forgotten. It's just like the NFL, where a player, a high-priced rookie comes out, he holds out through training camp, signs, say, second week of the season. See you, the first year's gone because another player has, busted his rump and taken his spot, and the coaches see that, and the rookies, they have to prove themselves, and the only way you prove yourself is in camp, unless you're Todd Light or somebody to that. Somebody with that high of an advanced billing, or Eric Green with Pittsburgh a year ago. We do have a call. It's unbelievable, isn't it, Sam? You're on the air. Tell us who your name is. Anyways, you know what to do. Here you are. What's up?
My name is Jeff Gallo.
How you doing, Jeff?
Good. Listen, you were just talking
Excuse me, Jeff. We don't need last names. We appreciate it, but please keep it confidential.
Hey, Sam, quit harassing the callers. Anyways, Jeff, what's up?
You just mentioned Eric Green.
Yep.
And I just traded for him in my fantasy football league. I was just going to ask you about that. I acquired him today from another member of our league, and, do you think that was a good acquisition? I'll tell you who I gave for him, okay? And then you can...
Okay.
I gave Eric Dickerson.
Yep.
I gave Brian Blades.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Novacek. All for this one player. You think that's putting too many eggs in one basket?
You gave Dickerson, Blades, and Novacek
for
Eric Green.
Yeah.
I think you got taken to the cleaners, but you did get a great tight end. You got probably the best tight end in football.
Yeah, he's leading in fantasy points this year.
Uh-huh.
What team does he play for?
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Enough said. Best tight end in football.
I take it your producer likes the Steelers.
He sure does. He's got a Pittsburgh Pirate hat on right now. He's from the Pittsburgh area. And
what's his name, Sam?
Sam Sigelman.
Sam, you like
you might know him.
I might know him?
You might know him. You might have seen him around campus. I don't know. He's everywhere. And but anyway, I think the Eric Green trade, if you have the receivers and the running backs, if you can afford to give up some depth on your team, I think it's a good trade.
Well, look at the rest of my team. I got Emmitt Smith. I have, who else do I have? Gaston Green, Michael Irvin, Anthony Miller, Andre Rison.
All right.
So I got a good team,
All right. You could contend.
I could contend. 10 I'll win my league.
Oh, you will.
Hands down.
Okay, well, we wish you luck with that.
Well, I just wanted to check and see if you. I know I remember last week you mentioned that you played fantasy football, so I thought I'd call in this week and ask you about it.
I sure do, and just real quickly, I don't want to bore the viewers out, or the listeners out there with fantasy football, but I just recently made a trade myself. I got Neil Anderson and Boomer Esiason for Del Pino and Mark Rippon.
Boy, you took someone to the cleaners.
Enough said. Thanks for your call, Jeff.
Hey, thanks.
Take it easy. Right now, enough of this fantasy football stuff. For those of you who don't play fantasy football, I'm sure that was the most boring 2 minutes of radio you've ever heard in your life. Right now, we've got the special surprise. It's what you've been waiting for. Here it is. John Gutekunst, his teleconference from yesterday, talking about the Pittsburgh game and the upcoming Illinois game, and he tells us what it's like to play Illinois for the first time since 1988.
Well, I think that's the point, is that compared to other Big Ten teams, we don't know as much about them because we haven't prepared for them in a couple of years. And from what I've seen, I'm just as happy about that because their quarterback has been outstanding with the group of receivers they have, and Turner and Palma, and they got tremendous speed, and I've been impressed with their backs. Lynch has come in and helped them at tailback. We've had that problem in the past where we've been being introduced to new tailbacks, and they've hurt us, similar to the Pitt game, and so I think that's the thing. But it is the Big Ten, and we know that, and we have great respect for Coach Makovic and his program and his staff, and so it's good to be back playing them again in that regard.
We'll take questions for Coach Gutekunst. Bob Hamel, could you comment on what you see from that Illinois-Houston film?
Well, that film is one that has some value to us, but I don't think a whole lot from this immediate game. Number one, Verduzco was absolutely outstanding in the way he threw the football, but Houston tried to play him a lot of man-to-man and had tremendous quickness, but Illinois just countered it and gave him good protection. He threw the ball amazingly well. So, and then as far as looking at Illinois' defense against the run and shoot, that really doesn't have any bearing to us. So all we saw was a team that rose to pointed to a team that people thought might be an exceptional football team, and they just put them away. They were the exceptional football team. And in our case right now with our non-conference schedule, we're still trying to get our kicking game squared away, and we've been very fortunate the past couple of years in injuries, but this year we just seem to be getting them all in the offensive line where we were rebuilding, and so we've got some work to do in that area.
John, this is Ivan Mazel at the Dallas Morning News. Paul Hackett said after your game that he thought that the NFL height goalpost may have distracted his kicker and made them look even narrower than they already are. Have your kickers had any problem with that? You put any stock in that?
I don't think I necessarily would discount that. We talked about that in our preseason. The fact that we would get the extra height playing in the same stadium as the Vikings, and that extra height seems to make the goalposts look narrower. But at the same time, I mean, that's a mental thing that hopefully the width is exactly the same, and get it out of your mind, hit the ball true. So I don't think, and we can't practice there at our will, and we don't have the extended goalposts ourselves on our practice fields.
Coach, this is Tim Dwyer calling from Scarlet and Gray Illustrated in Columbus, Ohio. Do you feel that the Big Ten is falling behind other conferences in its recruitment of JUCO players due to the rule which requires a partial qualifying JUCO to sit out a year before he attends his Big Ten institution of choice?
Well, I would certainly think that a young man would think that way. To sit out a year, knowing he was going to have to sit out a year, I think that certainly has an effect on recruiting. So I would think that rule plays a part. I don't know how far we're falling behind when you look at the national trends. up in entrance requirements for eligibility nationally. So, but I do think that, depending on how the new academic reforms go, it may become a greater handicap in the future.
This is Eric Hale from TBC Sports in Champaign. Can you talk about Mike Pulaski, what Minnesota's going to do maybe to contain him? Are you talking maybe double teaming him?
Well, I think, any young man that's got as many tackles for losses and sacks as he has, you got to give some special attention to him. We're certainly going to know where he is, and of course he flips around in the Illinois defense, so it's not like he's going to be on the same side all the time. So he's done an outstanding job, and it's going to put pressure on our pass protectors and knowing where he is each time, and whether we keep it back in sometimes to protect or maybe keep the tight end in, those are all variables that we have the potential to do.
Questions for John Gutekunst? What is the physical state of your team right at this moment?
Well, it's a little bit unknown right now. Chip Brixius, our offensive center, will be back at practice, and to what extent he's approaching 100%, we'll have to wait and see at today's practice. We'll lose Prince Pearson at guard, and we've already lost Todd Gravoy for the season, so there's 3 of our top 10 offense.
All right, a couple minutes with John Gutekunst, kind of a quick exit there, but we'll take it. I want to talk a little bit about the kicking game, which was one of the big reasons why the Gophers lost. Andy Kaufman had a punt blocked in that game that was returned for a TD by Pittsburgh, and as you know, the score is 14-13. Without that blocked punt, who knows? The Gophers could have won. And if the Gophers were 2-1, and if they would have beat Pittsburgh, I believe they would be in about the top 35 right now, and they would have a lot more confidence going down to Illinois, and the whole season might have been different. So that was a big play right there. Also, they talked a little bit about Scott Kaplan and these extended goalposts. I think that's a bunch of hogwash because they're the same.
Rick, what do you really think about it?
Sam, they're the same width. I don't care if you're kicking in Rich Stadium, the Metrodome, Clemson's Death Valley State. They're all the same. Get your head in the game, Kaplan. Kick the field goal. It's the same width. Mental game. It's just an excuse. Line it up, kick it. If it doesn't go through, it doesn't go through. I don't want to hear about the width of the goalposts and the height of the goalposts. Kick it. If you miss it, you missed it. Try harder next time. Anyway, give us a call. Let us know. Let us know. I'm getting all flustered here. I'm getting uptight. Let us know what you think about the kicking game. Call us, and I want to hear what you guys think is the greatest moment in baseball history. Keep those calls coming, 626 WMMR. You're listening to Gopher Talk on WMMR.
It's a plain fact that every once in a while you run into something that really turns your head, like a noise in a dark alley at night. A small-scale riot at your favorite bar. That thing that lives in your closet. Or a sudden, unexpected nuclear holocaust. And then there's the God Squad Power Hour, Sunday evenings from 4 to 7 p.m. here on WMMR.
'91 Minnesota Gopher football is in full force.
11-yard line. Here's a handoff to Rios. Pulls his way. Touchdown, Minnesota! Chuck Rios. An 11-yard run. It's pay dirt. Minnesota.
Listen to all the Gopher excitement on your source for Gopher sports, WMMR Radio.
Pass. Looks left. And it's intercepted. Picked off by Sean Lumpkin, the leader of the defense. The senior.
So please join me, Sam Sigelman, on October 12th at 1 o'clock as the Gophers take on Big Ten foe, the Purdue Boilermakers, on WMMR. No one is closer to the game.
All right, welcome back to Gopher Talk. I'm Rick Kamala with our producer, Sam Sigelman. And we have a call. You're on the air. Who are you and where are you calling from?
Yeah, Rick, this is John. I'm calling from downtown Dinkytown. I'm in a bar right now. I'm just sitting here kind of shooting the shit with the guys.
Wait, John. Wait. We understand you're in a bar and you're having fun, but just cool the language. It's a family show.
Oh, hey, sorry about that. I didn't realize that. Anyway, my question to you is this. Who is Three Finger Brown?
Who is Three Finger Brown? He was a pitcher back with
Mordecai Brown.
I believe
St. Louis Browns.
Yeah, I was going to say the St. Louis Browns, and we're talking years and years ago, like 1920s or 30s. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason he was called Three Finger Brown is because he only used three fingers when he threw the ball. Or
well, I've just been told that he was with the New York Giants in the 18 something or other.
That sounds
it was a little later than that, but John, what prompts you to wonder this in such a
It was just a question that came up, and we all wanted to know the answer. And I thought, hey, what better way to get that answer?
Hey, John.
It's called WMMR.
John, well, thanks for calling. Could I ask you a question? Is the reason that this question came up, would it have to do anything with the beers you've been consuming at the bar you're at?
That could be. I'm not sure. I'll get back to that tomorrow morning.
Hey, John, save a few for us, will you?
I will.
Thanks a lot for the call, John. You take it easy, all right?
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot. And we appreciate all your calls. That's just about going to do it for us here tonight, this Wednesday on Gopher Talk. Remember, next Wednesday, 11 o'clock to midnight. Join us here again. I'm Rick Kamala, your host. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to Gopher Talk, hosted by Rick Kamala, directed and produced by Sam Sigelman, associate producer Matt Barbatzis. Gopher Talk can be heard every Wednesday evening from 11 to midnight on 96.3 FM AM 1040 in the dorms. Gopher Talk is a WMMR sports production.
This is the conclusion of WMMR's programming day. WMMR is the student-operated radio station of the University of Minnesota, operating on an FM cable frequency.
Oh, yeah, music to my ears. Yeah, that's right. I'm back. I'm Sam Sigelman, and I'm back. And so is Steve Nelson. Steve Nelson, our producer, back from the janitor duty. He had to perform at several dorms near you. Steve Nelson, our producer, is back. And today we will be chatting with Rick Wiegman from the Minnesota Daily, the editor who's hanging up his daily pen this week in the final week of his career, 2-year career at the Minnesota Daily. But let's first get you caught up on what happened this past week in Gopher Sports. For the male side of the track squad, a wonderful throw by Mark Lacey, a tremendous heave by Mark Lacey, automatically qualified him for the NCAA championships this weekend, going on right now in Austin, Texas. The NCAA championships with Mark Lacey, his toss of 61 feet 9 inches, qualified him for that mark. It is his personal best, and he saved it to his last throw last week at the Minnesota Twilight Classic, the Twilight Open. 61.9. It's unbelievable. Also going with him, Chris Morrell, the high jumper, who qualified with the 7.3 jump, and Martin Erickson, the pole vaulter. And Also, Keita Klein did qualify to go to the NCAAs. However, the triple jumper will not go due to injury, and he's only a freshman, and they don't want to injure him right away. They'll wait till next year for Keita Klein. None of the women, however, qualified. Two young ladies did provisionally qualified. Chris Rowe and Susan Bliss. Susan in the 3,000, Chris Rowe in the 5,000. However, they did not make this top 16 cut. Therefore, they're gone. And, of course, in Gopher baseball, the only other sport kind of going on as we speak, Jeff Schmidt, the Gopher right-handed hurler, the 6'5", 200-pound giant for the Gophers, was drafted in the first round, 29th pick by the California Angels. Also drafted Tom Doyle, the 20th round by the Montreal Expos. The 18th round, George Bear was selected by the Brewers. 29th round was Scott Backham, and in the 18th round, 19th round, Bill Mobilia by the New York Mets. And so the Gophers are going to either trade in their maroon and gold for professional contracts, and that's what's going on in Gopher sports. And right now, I'm happy to have for our guest Rick Wiegman of the Minnesota Daily, and Rick is 2 years.
Sammy.
2 years, and you've been going strong, and you're about to end the Daily career. How does it feel initially?
Hanging up the jockstrap, Sam.
Hanging up the jockstrap.
It's actually a pleasure to get out of here. And, of course, I'll miss you, Sam, and the WMMR staff. But going on to bigger and better things to the east of us.
And those bigger and better things are?
An internship in Wisconsin.
In Appleton, Wisconsin, and that's where Rick Wiegman will be making his magic felt this summer, and it's a beautiful magic as well. We will take your calls a little later at 626-9667. If you have any questions about Rick, Rick, you've been here 2 years. This past year, you had a little more power to wheel around at the Daily. There, you were the editor, and through this past year, what would you say are one of the out of the 5 best moments? What would you list as top 5 of all the moments you've seen this year in Gopher sports?
I would say screwing with my reporters' lives would come up near the top. But we've had a lot of things happen here in the past year.
Steve, I wish we had a laugh track for this silly yet subtle Rick Wiegman here. And of course, fans out there, I am eating Goldie's popcorn from Goldie's Kaufman Union, and I'm refreshing myself with a cold drink of Pepsi. And Rick, if you care, go ahead. Dig into some popcorn there. Now, what would you say is one of the better Gopher moments this year?
I would think that Big Ten track and field championships that we just got done with definitely outdid the Final Four in the Super Bowl in my mind.
Yeah, that was a very highly contested contest, and the women of Illinois and the gentlemen from Ohio State, the football players, took top honors in that event. And you saw a lot of football players out there for Ohio State.
They were from Ohio State, exactly. The Minnesota football players were there too, coming back from the courthouse. But yes, I'm just kidding, Sam. The track and field was not the high point of the go down. Minnesota's first in 41 years, I believe. Had to go down as the high point.
Yeah.
Duke winning it all again for the second straight year in a row. Tastes good?
Oh, yeah. Goldie's is the best. So you would have to say the Final Four out of everything. You also covered the Super Bowl, but however, you feel the Final Four is a little more exciting for you, or was more heartwarming?
We were 10 feet behind Bobby Knight, and the Super Bowl, I'm still trying to figure out what was going on down there because I was so far up I couldn't see it. Besides, I had to sit next to Dave Peterson. You know Dave? Yeah, okay.
Bill Wiegman, yeah. We'll go to the phone lines right now, and we got a call on line 3. Dave, are you there?
Hello?
Hey.
Hello.
Hi. I was wondering about Larry Olam and Doug Zamolik and some of those guys that look like they were going to sign pro contracts.
They're bums.
Really? Well, no, but I mean, really, you think they can play pro hockey or what?
Was that directed to
one of us here?
Well, either one, whoever covers hockey there.
Oh, man.
I'll handle that, Sam.
Okay, go ahead, Rick.
The question was, Olem and Smolik have...
And you are a hockey aficionado, so therefore he would...
I think the problem with Olem is he grew up in such a small town, such as Warroad, Minnesota. And, I mean, what talent has come out of that northern Minnesota town? In
Christian
recent
Brothers.
years? Well, okay, Larry can make sticks then, all right? But I don't foresee the NHL talent there. Smolik's a little bigger, defense. He's possibly
he's
going to
mean
go.
Too.
Yes, go to the Sharks. And well, hey, look at their team. I mean, they need help everywhere. So,
I would say, caller, I'd say you got to put your money in Doug Zamolik to make an impact on the NHL. And Larry Olem, due to his size, even though he has a great skating and stick handling ability, will probably be
driving the Zamboni, I think, Sam.
Or working at KSDP with John Mayasich. So it's either or, I think. What's your feelings on that, call?
Well, it's amazing. A guy did so much this season. You'd think that a team like San Jose, had a bad year, would probably be looking for him. But like you said, size is so much of a factor. It's kind of strange.
Well, my hockey reporter back at the Daily was discussing this over with me, and he thought Olem had the talent to go to the NHL, but I don't know. That Myers guy's been wrong so many times this year. I couldn't take his word for it.
Yeah, I've read his stuff. He's so biased to those northern guys. I wouldn't take his advice.
Well, Dave, thank you for the call. Anything else to ask the Wizard of Sports?
Boy, I just everybody who reads the Daily, we're all gonna miss you, Rick, and take care over there in Idaho or wherever you're going.
Thank you, Dave.
Bye-bye.
Dave there, calling from Minneapolis, and he sounds like a big hockey fan.
Yes, it almost brings a tear to my eye the way people are treating me here this last week at the Daily.
And you have to in Wisconsin. That's a hockey capital of the world.
Yes.
The runner-ups in the NCAA hockey playoffs.
Pretty good fighters.
Hail from that. And pretty good stick handlers too. Well, we're going to take a quick break right now. It's 20 to the hour, and we'll come back and take some more calls and talk to Rick Wiegman of the Daily right after these massages.
Need some evil in your life? Then listen to Full Metal Jack-Off. Full Metal Jack-Off, Monday nights from 7 to 9 p.m., only on Student Radio WMMR, because Full Metal Jack-Off makes metal hurt. Hail Satan, burn the flag.
All right, that's enough of that. Hold on a second. I don't know if you folks out there realize it yet or not, but at 11 p.m. here at WMMR, the music shuts off. That's right, off. From 11 to midnight every Monday through Saturday here at MMR, we do nothing but talk. That's right, talk. Remember that? It's what people used to do before there was television. A good argument is a healthy way to vent frustration, so if you have an opinion you want to express, I suggest you tune into one of the fine programs we have at that time. If you want the finest program, tune into The Edge of Night, where we love our anger. Pretty soon it's all we'll have left. If you want to mumble and grumble about things, then try another show, maybe Thursday, but if you prefer to yop, make your presence felt, and suck the marrow out of life, then join me, Dan Stevens, every Monday on The Edge. I promise I won't push you off. Maybe.
The Minneapolis Boys Soul Asylum, bringing us back to the second stanza of Gopher Chat, and we're talking to a Minneapolis kid, I guess you could say, a crystal boy, Rick Wiegman from the Minnesota Daily, the editor who's putting his editing file, his AP-style book away at the Daily for the last time this week.
No, I stole that, Sam, along with a bunch of other stuff.
That's where they've been calling us about this IBM computer. I have no idea what's going on about that. We're going to go to the phone lines right now. We got John on line 2. John, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Minneapolis.
So, John, do you have a question for Rick?
Yes, I sure do. I recently read something about Tommy Doyle being drafted. What's that all about? The guy's a dud.
Tom Doyle, well, he hasn't had the most, I guess, statistical success this year. If you look at what he's done this year, he hasn't done much. And I guess you would have to say, Rick, he's only batted 200. He's only batted 244. He has not got a home run and has only got 1 RBI, and that's not draft-like material.
Yeah, well, you got to look who drafted him. The Expos. We talked to one of their scouts yesterday, and they thought they were drafting Donald Royal from the Timberwolves, but they got the name mixed up. It was awful.
No, we were talking before we went on the air that you think scouts look more at potential than than performance.
I think they were looking at the wrong number on the field, Sam, because Doyle has played very limited this year, and last year was even worse in terms of performance. And if there's potential out there outside in a rather big, bulky body, I don't really see it.
John, are you a big Gopher baseball fan?
I sure am. I follow the team quite closely, and happy to say I get most of my information from the Daily. And Rick and I believe Juan Rodriguez is the beat writer. He does a fine job.
Well, thank you very much. That's why I hired him. But with the budget cutbacks like they are, we're gonna have to trim his salary a little bit. I think it's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, and he did cover the team had much success, and I don't know if that's partly due to the Daily, but the team had much success, and unfortunately, not much of it came from the bat of Tom Doyle. So I think you have a great point there, John. I appreciate the call.
Thank you, Sam.
John from Minneapolis there, a Tom Doyle disliker, and that's I'm sure he's not the only one out there.
I guess John's not going to be following the Expos next year, or their Class A farm club.
Where's he going? Where's the class?
He's going to the rookie league out in somewhere out east there.
Do you project him to be another Greg Johnson?
I expect him to be in the rookie league for a second year, which they don't do. But I'm sorry, I just don't see where he'll go to Class A obviously next year. But
now, what about Keith Cranky? He was drafted in the 29th round by the Colorado Rockies, and
they got thin air out there,
They got thin air, and that's why they drafted Keith Cranky.
I think so.
No. Keith was drafted out of high school, 17th round by the Milwaukee Brewers, decided to spend 5 years in school, and then gets drafted 12 rounds later.
Well, he had an awesome year. If you looked at his year last year, he didn't come through. He pinch hit much of the time because John Gopher played in right field. Mm-hmm. But this year, Cranky came on. He was one of the reasons the team went as far as they did. Hit the second most home runs ever by Gopher, 16. And hit for average pretty well, but a lot better than last year. And I'm sure they're looking at his home run potential.
Well, Cranky's 16 home runs, unbelievable. 50 runs batted in, and did bat 282.
Had the best arm on the team too.
Gun in right field. You gotta think that he has got at least AA potential. I just don't understand how Keith Cranky can get 9 rounds lower in the Major League Baseball draft than Tom Doyle. I really don't see it.
Well, I don't see. Jeff Schmidt's got a fastball on him, but if college hitters can hit him like the way they do, he's going to need some more training in the professional level. Good ice, Sam?
Oh, yeah. It's the best. From Goldie's, of course, and Kaufman Union. If you're looking for some nice popcorn, some nice fountain pop.
Do they advertise here? What's the deal?
They do now.
Okay.
So, Rick,
we have an update on the hotline here. Martin Erickson is qualified at the championships down in Austin. Qualified for the finals. Had picked up the red phone over here on the hotline, and he cleared 17.4.5 today. So
he cleared 17.10 to qualify for the.
Right, but in the preliminary rounds today, he cleared 17.4.5.
So the crazy Swede.
It's amazing Roy Griak knew that number here at the office.
Grandpa Track. Rick, the last 2 years, you've mentioned that you've liked the Final Four. Tell us some of the crazy little stories that you've come across interviewing various athletes and coaches throughout the past 2 years.
Well, it's funny, Sam. My first 2 interviews came at the U.S. Olympic Festival way back in 1990. I'm sure we all remember that. The big money maker here. And that was with Dale Brown and Shaquille O'Neal. Now, had I known it at the time, I would have tried to attach myself to O'Neill a little more, maybe be an agent,
Right.
and take a cut on that big contract he's going to be getting from Orlando. But I mean, so right away, I talked to the big timers. I've stuck around the big timers. We hang together. Oh God. No, but it's been a lot of fun talking to people that normally you only read about in the papers.
So, who would you say out of the people that you've interviewed, some of the more helpful people, some of the ones that were probably not as kind as they could be towards you as a school newspaper reporter?
Well, it's funny. Willie Burton just was almost totally blowing me off, despite having spent his career here at Minnesota.
I mean, maybe he was a little depressed.
Yeah, well, it was about 5 days before he took a leave of absence there.
Maybe that tells you something about yourself, too.
I'm not that. You're not quitting, are you, Sam? But there's professional athletes. We don't normally cover, but I did interview a few pro athletes in the basketball in the NBA, and they seemingly more, I should say, less helpful, and same with the coaches than the college athletes who don't maybe get as much press.
Well, from the beginning of the time when you first started the Daily, have you seen athletes grow both on the field and emotionally, and with their makeup, a little maturity? Have you noticed one or two athletes that have grown to become gentlemen rather than kids when they came in, 18-year-olds?
Well, I think we talked about one of them already, Keith Cranky. Last year was, not much, pretty much a nobody, but this year he handled everything very well, both on the field and off. Didn't get in any trouble, to our knowledge. So he's just one of many. It's tough to narrow him down. I sat in the office most of the time this year, so
right.
wasn't around the athletes as much.
Right.
Oh my God.
So let's talk about a little of this past year. What would you say some of the better athletes, better performances? Any surprises? Any team surprises in one or two sports?
Well, men's basketball in the first half of the year was very surprising. I picked them for a lowly 6-12 finish, and well, at the end they came close, going 8-8. But during the first half of the year, beating Bobby Knight and a few other stellar teams, you have to say Vashawn Leonard and the group was one of the highlights. I believe Dave and John have joined us in the studio.
No, so you would have to say the Gophers is one of the surprises that became a big disappointment, the way they bowed out.
Yes, exactly. I think the way they bowed out in Washington State in the NIT was fairly typical of both Clem Haskins and the team down the stretch.
Any other disappointments this past year? Any surprises?
Well, we had a big surprise today or yesterday. The women's gymnastics coach, Catalin Deli, and her husband Gabor, the assistant coach, have been fired from the U because of supposedly, this is allegedly because of a sexually explicit videotape. Have we all seen this tape?
Anyway, with that, we'll take a quick break, review some more of this past year, and talk to Rick Wiegman.
Do we have a VCR, by the way?
Right after these messages, keep it tuned to Gopher Chat.
Murmur presents Steve the Near Immortal. Today, Steve will be performing an amazing trick involving balancing 15 feet of corrugated steel pipe on his nose while playing Heart and Soul on the keyboard and reciting the multiplication table by 5. Are you ready, Steve?
I'm ready, Tony.
Take it!
0 times 5 is 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times... Oh! Ah!
Well, for this and other amazing tricks, tune into Murmur Thursday nights at 11, because if music should hurt, talk should at least maim. Steve, you okay? He's great. Bring on the flaming walruses!
their booty snack. Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. All the super duper hits, super groovy, super destruction, rock and roll jamboree fiesta of the 20th century, 1992. Earth, TV dinner, booty snack. Everybody.
Welcome to the final leg of Gopher Chat, and I'm Sam Sigelman, along with Steve Nelson, our director-producer. We are talking to Rick Wiesman, the Minnesota Daily, the editor who is leaving the Daily after this week amid sexual tape allegations. Now, what's this you were talking about, Rick, as we left? Excuse me, the gymnastic coach, Catlin Deli. The alleged scandal that may be going on in the Bierman Women's Complex.
Yes, supposedly, and this is all attributed to a different newspaper. But she and her husband were on a videotape that they accidentally gave to some of their gymnasts to watch. There was a videotape of a meet on the first half of the tape, and then afterwards, there's a few minutes of some little sexual explicit activity there. But the women's department is denying that, or actually they're not saying anything.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry. Was there any pommel horses involved at this time?
Can't comment on that, Sam. That's classified information. But the women's department's not commenting on the firing, on the reasons behind it, due to some technicalities of some sort.
Oh, God. That is really bizarre.
It is. And they're nowhere to be found today.
Ooh, oh man. So that's what, 18, 19 years down the drain.
Pretty much, yeah.
She's been here since 73.
73, exactly.
Wow.
Oh my God, I better hide my tapes.
Yeah,
let them fall into any unsuspecting
Fall the
hands.
hands of Shuzitsu. So she's leaving amid disgrace, and
I'm leaving amid disgrace. Yeah.
John Gutekunst left amid disgrace this past year, and John Gutekunst. Do you the way he left? Do you think there's any chance that Coach Wacker can install that winning tradition that he's talking about with this team that lost 9 games last year?
Sure, I think they can win a game, Sam. Not many more than that, but.
Do you think they will turn this thing around somehow?
It's going to take years. It's going to take quite a few years. They have a tough schedule again this year. Pretty much the same as last year. And, they get more fans in the stands. It'll be a more exciting team, a little more passing, a little more big plays, 50 to 32 scores, something like that.
They're going to run it up. So take the over on every Gopher game.
That's exactly. I don't condone betting, Sam, but
eating.
But I gotta leave for that Mystic Lake bus that's going up there soon. So
go by that nice hairpin turn by the mailboxes in out there in Savage, and say hi to Dan Patch Lake as you go by.
I think there's a fire burning out there. Yeah.
So Rick,
it's come to this, hasn't it?
It's come to the end, and we all are gonna miss your crazy writing techniques, your hacking up several stories, your need for quotes and stories, and favorite story you've written in the last 2 years.
Favorite story I've written?
Or read?
Boy, we had this freelance one. A guy named Dave wrote us an article. It was pretty good. But seriously, I honestly can't remember any article I've read.
Oh, the Buffalo.
Me. Oh, yes, there you go. Maybe it's the Buffalo. That was a classic. But it's been fun overall. I've enjoyed it. Met some great people, other people that I don't want to ever see again. But perhaps the highlight's been coming on here, doing the Gopher Chat and the Gopher Talk show with Matt tonight, or on Wednesday nights, I should say.
That is
he still employed here, by the way?
I believe so, yes. Well, Rick, it's been a rare pleasure, and we are going to miss you. And
let's go out with that rouser, Sam. What do you say?
Hey, why not? And on cue is the rouser. Rick, we're going to miss you, and we wish you the luck in your future endeavors, and hope you come out a little better than I predict Tom Doyle will come out in the Expo Farm System.
Thanks a lot, Sam.
It's Rick Wiegman of the Minnesota Daily, leaving his last appearance on Gopher Chat, and this is the last edition of Gopher Chat this year. Steve Nelson, director and producer, did a nice job after his post-janitor depression, and I'm Sam Sigelman. We will chat with you next year.
You are listening to Student Radio WMMR 96.3 FM on Paragon Cable, 106.7 FM on Continental Cable, and AM 730 to the U of M dorms. Coming up right after these messages, 60 songs in 60 minutes.
Tune in to WMR Friday, 5 to 7.
For Ain't It Funky with DJs Jamar and Neil.
For the best